Eye Contact, a Mark Manning Mystery, Book 2. Author, Michael Kraft. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media, New York. Narrator, Eric Ost. "Hey," says Neil. "Are you okay?" Manning's eyes open. His face is half buried in the sheets, but he can see the clock on the nightstand, which isn't set to go off for another 20 minutes. He turns onto his left side to find Neil sitting up in bed. "You were moaning. Pain or pleasure?" Manning tosses back the sheet to give Neil a gander. "Pleasure." Late that morning, Manning arrives with David at the planetarium for their appointment with Dr. Zarnick to see the graphic realization which the astronomer has claimed will prove the existence of his newly discovered planet. Today is Friday and the parking lot is jammed. The weekend has begun early for hordes of families on vacation, and the Sky Show is a popular attraction. Once inside the building, Manning knows his way, telling the receptionist that Dr. Zarnick needn't come downstairs to escort them up to the lab. He leads David around a doubled-back queue of visitors, down a rear hallway and up the metal stairs, walking through the hall toward the door to the observatory. Manning says, "Play along with me, David. I hate to sound devious, but something's been troubling me about Zarnick's lab. I want to take a closer look at things while he's not watching. I doubt we'll be lucky enough to get him out of the room, but if we can get him involved with you, that may give me sufficient leeway to do some snooping. So I want you to assume the role of a green rookie, all wide-eyed, young, and eager." As David nods with unbridled enthusiasm, Manning feels foolish, realizing that in the fact the kid is young and eager. David tells him, "You can count on me. I've dreamed of opportunities like this." Manning assumes that David has spoken of his dreams figuratively. A strange smile contorts his lips as he deadpans. "So have I, David." They stop at the door with the red sign. There is no knob, only the keyhole for the lock, and no doorbell. Manning trudges and knocks. After waiting a full minute, David whispers, "Are you sure we're expected?" "I thought we were," says Manning. "He said to be here before noon." "Ah, gentlemen," says Dr. Zarnick, skittering toward them from the opposite end of the hall. "Sorry to make you wait, but clumsy me. I forgot something, as usual." Wedged under his arm is a folded newspaper in a black plastic box, the size of a book or a videotape. Fumbling with the whistle and the keys chained around his neck, he manages to open the door. "Do step inside, please." He escorts them toward the middle of the room, tossing the paper in the plastic box. It's a video cassette. Onto the desk. He turns to face his visitors, standing in a clearing amid the electronic hodgepodge. Checking his watch, he tells them several minutes remain until the graphic realization can be presented. Manning says, "Well, that should give us enough time for a few more questions. Professor, as I told you on the phone, I'd like to clear up some details before finishing my story." "I'm at your service. I want you to be absolutely confident of the veracity of my claim. Any questions you might have, please fire away." "Thank you. Do you mind if I sit?" As he speaks, Manning sits at Zarnick's desk, opening his steno pad and uncapping his Mont Blanc. "Make yourself comfortable," says Zarnick. "You too, Mr. Bosch." David pulls a chair to a corner of the desk and takes out his own notebook, uncapping a ballpoint with his teeth. Manning says, "Dr. Zarnick, I wonder if you'd be willing to speculate about the physical characteristics of this new planet. I want my readers to feel that this story takes them there, that they have actually set foot on planet Zarnick. For instance, if I were standing on its surface, what would I see looking up to the sky as the Zarnical day reaches high noon?" The astronomer looks at him with a blank expression, as though he's never tried to visualize the environment of the far-flung world he has found. With hands behind his back, he paces to the center of the room, suggesting, "Oh, it would not really matter whether it were day or night. The sky would be black, punctured everywhere by an intense display of stars." "If the sky is black, That implies there is no atmosphere. Is that the case? No clouds? No vapors? Nothing? Zarnick crosses his arms, then brings the fingers of one hand to his chin. Well, that would be pure speculation, Mr. Manning, although I appreciate your attempt to draw a more vivid picture for your readers. The disappointment in Manning's voice is unmistakable as he reads aloud the note he has written. Black sky. Just stars. Nothing else. Zarnick shrugs. If you're looking for a little excitement, you could throw in some meteorites, an asteroid belt. Manning perks up. Asteroids? Cosmic litter. Hunks of something that blew up in eons past? He simulates an explosion with his hands. Pesky space rocks. His fingers waggle like falling debris. Unpredictable complications that could spoil one's day out there. A chipper laugh reveals that he has enjoyed this brief foray into the more poetic aspects of his science. David eyes Manning with a glance of approval while making a note. Zarnick taps his wrist. It is almost noon, gentlemen. Please position your chairs in front of the desk. Facing the large computer monitor, I shall take care of the rest. Manning and David move their chairs as instructed, while Zarnick dashes about the room, firing up his equipment, adjusting its settings, twiddling dials, taking care not to trip over the fat bundle of cables. David follows every moment with rapt attention, pen poised over his notepad, ready to record details of the demonstration. Manning sits back pensively in his chair, watching Zarnick fuss. He reaches back to stretch an arm on the desk, drumming his fingers while waiting for Zarnick to finish. His hand brushes the edge of an appointment calendar, the ubiquitous style with the date appearing as a big red number at the top of each page. Manning peers over his shoulder at it. Noted there on the line just before noon are the initials MM. As Zarnick disappears behind some equipment, Manning pulls the calendar himself, flips back through several pages, and finds that all of Zarnick's notations are short and cryptic, usually consisting of initials. There, Wednesday afternoon is another MM, and late Monday there's a CN. The meeting with Cliff Nolan? Manning slides the calendar back to its original spot and stares idly at the desktop. There's a brown paper lunch bag. He recalls the sandwich he moved aside on Wednesday. The messy stack of computer printout has swelled a few inches. The morning edition of the Journal carries Nathan Kane's page 1 tribute to the slain Clifford Nolan headline. Day of Wrath. The cheap VCR still sits at the far corner, winking midnight with the blue digits of its display. The arrangement of the desk has not changed since his first visit. Yet, something seems to be missing. All is nearly ready, says Zarnick, reappearing from behind a cabinet, his hair looking frizzier. Manning chuckles to himself, wondering if Mr. Wizard got his fingers stuck in a socket back there. With a little patience, says Zarnick, you will both soon join the exclusive ranks of a handful of witnesses to the motion of a new planet. He directs them to look forward at a large, dark computer screen. He explains, data are being constantly collected from numerous antennae, then systematically compared in order to detect infinitesimal perturbations in the polar wobble of Pluto. Digitized, the data from these coordinated observations can be translated into a television image. Graphic realization. He switches on the monitor, then skitters behind Manning and David to the back of the desk, where he sits. His voice is now hushed. The image you see before you is a bitsy slice of our solar system, a view as if through the eye of a needle, extending billions of miles into the dead cold darkness. There's nothing there, says David, squinting. Just the crosshairs through the center of the screen. So it seems. But I tell you, my young friend, there is indeed something there, hidden beneath the intersection of those lines. It is a tiny planet, a wanderer in the far reaches of space. Wanderer, repeats Manning. That's what planet means, doesn't it? Precisely. That is what the ancients call those bodies that wandered through the seemingly fixed constellations. Stars do not move, planets do. And with patience, you will see one move in real time before your very eyes. The two reporters peer closer. Then from under the white lines into the blackness emerges a speck of pink. A few moments later, it nudges further from center, and the computer begins tracing its path along the arc of giant ellipse. Zarnick tells them, "Behold, the 10th planet." "It's awesome," says David. "Then an abstract theory can be proved by such concrete means?" "That is the elegance of this demonstration," says Zarnick. "Even the most casual observer, untutored in the rudiments of scientific method, can clearly grasp the evidence of this graphic realization. Not everyone can matriculate in advanced astrophysics, but any idiot can watch TV. No offense, gentlemen." Laughing, Manning is reminded of Gordon Smith's comment in Kane's office yesterday. "Any idiot can push the play button on a VCR." Manning's laughter stops short. He turns to smile at Zarnick, and while doing so, confirms that something has changed about the desktop. The videos cassette that Zarnick plopped there when they arrived is nowhere to be seen. As Manning returns his gaze to the screen, his eyes dip for a blinking instant to glimpse the display panel of the VCR. The clock still flashes midnight, but it has been joined by another symbol, an icon of a rolling tape. Manning quickly turns toward the monitor again so that Zarnick cannot read the suspicion and mounting anger in his eyes. "Amazing," he observes. "It truly is a mechanical universe." "Truly," affirms Zarnick. "Awesome," says David. Manning turns to him. "You're wearing out that word, David. You're a writer, for God's sake." Taken off guard by Manning's sour tone, David tells him, "Sorry, Mark. Thanks for the tip." Remembering that he had asked David to act like a kid, he reaches over to pat his knee, a gesture of apology. He wants to lean over and whisper, "I'll explain later." But he can't, not with Zarnick watching barely 2 feet behind them. Manning sits as if frozen there, resisting the temptation to steal a glimpse of Zarnick's hand movements. He strains to hear the mechanism of the tape player disengage the cassette, but the hum of other equipment in the room makes it impossible to detect any telltale clicks. At that moment, the image of the planet and its ellipse vanishes, leaving only the crosshairs on the screen. "Ah," says Zarnick, tapping his watch. "We have overstayed our welcome in that pertinent slice of the cosmos. Our transmission is kaput." Manning rises from his chair. Capping his pen, he looks at the VCR. Predictably, its tape icon is no longer lit. He tells Zarnick, "Thank you so much, Professor. That was enlightening. Probably more than you realize, and I think it's safe to say my young assistant was impressed." David chimes in. "I'll say it was totally impressive." "I can't thank you enough, Professor." Still seated, David makes some quick additions to his notes. The astronomer rises from his own chair, approaches Manning, and shakes his hand. "Do please let me know if there's anything else I can do for you." Manning looks to David for a moment, then back at Zarnick. He says, "Actually, Professor, there is something you could help us with. Young David here has never been assigned a story of this scope and has never had the opportunity to interview a celebrity of your stature. If you have the time, could he ask you a few questions and cover the basics of this story on his own?" Without hesitation, Zarnick says, "My pleasure, Mr. Manning." Turning to David, he says, "Well, my friend, how may I help you?" Standing behind Zarnick, Manning indicates with a jerk of his head that David should get the professor to sit in the chair. Manning has just vacated. David says, "Thanks for your time, Dr. Zarnick. Why not get comfortable?" He gestures toward the chair. With a bow of assent, Zarnick seats himself facing David across the corner of the desk, giving Manning free rein to explore the portion of the room behind Zarnick's back. David asks the astronomer, What first led you to suspect the existence of a planet beyond Pluto? Manny recognizes that David has asked an intelligent opening question, but he doesn't listen for the answer. Instead, he studies the racks of computer hardware, the fat bundles of cables, the vented metal cabinets, the seemingly purposeless array of video monitors that clutter the cement-floored room. It looks like a movie set, a mad scientist laboratory. But what's the purpose of this sham? Baffled, he rubs the back of his neck as if to stimulate clearer thinking. Twisting his head sideways, he notices the chalkboard covering the length of a wall. He remembers that on his first visit he was disappointed to find no mile-long calculations, only a grocery list and a phone number. The list has grown some. Zarnick must visit the supermarket on weekends, and the phone number has been mostly rubbed out to accommodate the longer list. Manny removes the pen and notebook from his jacket. He copies the shopping list. TP, BT, TVG, milk, bread, BB, diet, munchies, JD2L. Bowl cleaner, ban unscented blades. The first 3 digits of the phone number is still legible, and Manny notes that they match the journal's private exchange. He thinks that the number might have been his own since he gave it to Zarnick when he first phoned on Wednesday, but then he notices the last 2 digits. 7s. Peeking through the bowl cleaner, it's not Manning's number. Manning eyes his notebook for a moment, glances at the chalkboard, then notices Zarnick, who is rising from his chair. David, also rising, says to him, "Thanks so much, Professor. It's been a great honor to spend this time with you." "Nonsense," said Zarnick with an air of modesty, nonetheless enjoying the praise. "It is I who must thank you 2 gentlemen for your efforts on behalf of promoting this momentous discovery." He has turned and begins escorting both reporters toward the door. "I almost forgot," says Manning. "The party, Saturday? My loft mate and I have just finished fixing up our place, and we're throwing sort of a housewarming tomorrow night. David will be there. I wonder if you'd care to join us, Dr. Zarnick." "Perfection," says the astronomer. "I have the good fortune to be at liberty." Manning recalls from his peek at Zarnick's calendar that there was nothing initialed for Saturday night. He says, "Any time after 7, would you care to make note of the address?" He folds open his steno pad and offers it to Zarnick. "Thank you, yes." Zarnick picks one of several mechanical pencils from his lab coat's pocket protector, clicks out a length of lead, and transcribes the directions. "That was 7 o'clock, Manning reminds him, watching as he writes. "Yes, 7. Zarnick makes note of the time, removes the page, folds it, and returns the pad to Manning. "We'll look forward to seeing you," says Manning, extending his hand, which Zarnick shakes. David extends his own hand. "Good luck with your research, Professor," says Zarnick, recoiling a step, raising his hands as if at gunpoint. He explains, "In my homeland, it is considered a curse to wish one luck while shaking hands. Instead, offer me your little finger." David does so. "Now, hook it with mine." They do. "And shake." "There. Good luck for both of us. Fully protected, no curses." He laughs. "Mr. Manning?" Manning obliges, engaging Zarnick in the pinky shake. "Not very scientific, Professor." "No," he admits. "But hey, whatever works." They all share a laugh as Zarnick opens the door for them and ushers them into the hall. While walking toward the stairs with Manning, David turns back to say, "Till tomorrow, Professor." "Farewell, my friends." Zarnick waves, toots his chrome police whistle, then disappears behind the security door. It closes with a thud, locks with a clank. Making their way out of the building and through the parking lot toward the car, Manning doesn't say a word. Doesn't need to. David gabs on and on, still heady from his taste of big-time journalism. "God, this is exactly the kind of assignment I've been hoping for. But I never dreamed it would come this quickly. What a rush. Thank you, Mark." Manning opens the car and they get in. From the passenger seat, David says, "You know what would make this day complete? Getting behind that will." "Dream on," says Manning. As they pulled out of the lot and into traffic, he asked David, "Could you grab that file from the back seat?" David reaches for the manila folder and opens it in his lap. Flipping through the pile of photos, he says, "It's Zarnick from the Journal's morgue. Look closely at them. Notice anything?" David adjusts his glasses and lifts the picture one by one, scrutinizing them at varying distances from his face. "It's him. So what?" Manning's eyes are focused on the road, his brows wrung in thought. He can't examine the pictures while he's driving, so he's left with David's appraisal of them. Lost in this musing, he doesn't notice that David has returned the file to the back seat. Nor does he notice that David has reached across the console to put his hand on Manning's knee. Then David gives a little squeeze, catching Manning's attention fast. "David," says Manning through a nervous laugh, "when I touched you back at the observatory, it was meant as an apology for my brusque reaction to your overuse of awesome. I don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't feel like an apology." "No, sir." His voice was an unmistakably suggestive lilt. Manning grips the wheel with both hands. "David, don't. Not now. We've got other issues to deal with. There's work to do. Digging." "What do you mean?" asked David, unwilling to remove his hand. "Your story's all but written. You're sitting on a page one exclusive detailing the biggest scientific news of the year, maybe the decade." "David," says Manning, brushing away the kid's hand, "Zarnick's a fraud." "Huh?" "While you were running him through your interview," David interrupts, I got some really great quotes, too. You may want to work with him in." Manning glances sideways to tell David, "Listen to me. The plan is a sham." "But he proved it. You saw it yourself." Manning explains, "He was playing a videotape for us. It was a baby, simple setup. I should have seen it coming." Dumbstruck, David asks, "But why would he try to fake something like that? Even if he could manage to jerk us around, he'd be proven wrong eventually." "I have no idea what he's up to, but the deception runs deeper. Not only is his planet bunk, but the man himself is phony." "That's not Zarnick?" "Whoa, Marks," says David, edging to the far side of his seat. "Don't blow me away here. That has to be Zarnick." "He doesn't add up," insists Manning, pulling the notepad from his jacket. "Look at this. I copied a grocery list he was keeping on the blackboard." David reads through it, then turns to Manning with a quizzical look. "Doesn't cook much, does he?" "That's not the point. The man who made this list is not from Eastern Europe. He's a homegrown, corn-fed American." Incredulous, David asks, "How can you tell that? I can't even make sense of this. For instance, that's TP, PT, TVG? Toilet paper, paper towels, TV guide. Simple. How'd you figure that out?" "Don't you keep a grocery list? The stuff you need every week ends up at the top, usually in some sort of shorthand. Everybody does it. That way, well, I do." "Okay," says David. "Makes sense. Milk, bread, weekly stuff. What's BB?" "Peanut butter." David's eyes widen with astonishment. Manning explains, "It goes with bread, and there was a sandwich on his desk the other day. Even then, it struck me as odd. Europeans don't eat peanut butter for lunch, no more than we'd eat kippers for breakfast." David runs his finger down the list. "Next items, diet and munchies." "Vernacular," says Manning. "American vernacular. I have no idea how much Diet Coke and Cheetos is consumed in Eastern Europe. Very little, I imagine, but I'll bet a week's pay they wouldn't refer to it as diet and munchies." Here's a good one. What's JD2L?" Manning frowns. "That one's got me stumped." Then it ends up with bowl cleaner, abandoned scented blades, lifestyle stuff. Right. This guy's awfully tidy, and while I hate to cast aspersions on the personal hygiene of an entire continent, it's a fact that I've known few, if any, European men of Zarnick's generation who use deodorant. "Okay, fine," says David, handing the notepad back to Manning. This is an American shopping list. But how can you be sure that Zarnick wrote it? Manning tucks away the pad, explaining, I looked at his desk calendar. His appointments were written in the same hand, usually noted with no more than initials. Then I had him copy the directions to tomorrow's party, and I watched. He didn't write in that tortured style Europeans take such pride in. It was Palmer method, all the way. And here's the corker. He didn't cross his sevens. David, that man has either managed to change a heap of lifelong habits in the last 3 weeks, or he's not who he claims to be. David flumps back in his seat, exhaling a heavy sigh, convinced by Manning's argument. Who is he, then? Beats me, but the State Department helped bring him here, and I doubt if he could bluff them. What's more, he didn't even mention Cliff Nolan's murder, which has been all over the headlines for the past 2 days. He met Cliff, remember? Only hours before the murder, and he made no secret of not liking the man. I smell something very fishy here. David tells Manny. I smell a major expose. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.